It's time for Real Talk with Jackie. She'll talk politics, education, entertainment, and a whole lot more. It's time for Real Talk with Jackie, Hollywood Mims.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk. Today's topic is all about crime prevention. You say something, you see something, you know something. We just have to let someone know. I am honored to have our very own state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy, here to talk with us about her wealth of knowledge when it comes to crime prevention. So with that said, welcome to my show.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited that we have such a great audience.
Okay. So before we delve into the show,
Yes.
tell us, who is State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy?
Well, that's a good question. I'm just a girl from Largo.
Oh, good.
No, I'm from originally Washington D.C., but I grew up in Prince George's County,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been here probably 45 years. I'm 50 now.
Okay.
So I've been here most of my life.
Mhm.
Went to public schools here. My father immigrated to this country from Grenada, from a very small island. And my mother was born in D.C.
Okay.
They met on the campus of Howard University, fell in love, and had my sister and then me. And so they moved to Prince George's County because they wanted a backyard, so I could have a dog or a pet, and a better life. And it has been that for me. So I again grew up here, went to schools here, and have really just enjoyed everything that Prince George's has to offer. I went to college at the University of Maryland, and then I went to law school at Howard University. So I had to complete the legacy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Had to have my Howard experience, and I'm so grateful that I did. And so I've been working for the county for quite some time. It was my second job out of law school. I worked for the federal government and then came to work for the county. I worked in the executive branch. I then ran for state delegate, won, and so I was part of the legislative branch at the state level.
Okay.
And now I'm part of the judicial branch as state's attorney. During that time, I also had my own law practice, so I was a small business owner, as well as I've worked for Children's Hospital, which is the largest pediatric provider in this region for our children. And so I've had varied public sector and private sector experience.
Wow, I love it. And that's our state's attorney. Hello. I love that. So my next question is, what is the state's attorney role on crime and in partnership with the police and with the community?
So the state's attorney is really the top law enforcement office, meaning that ultimately we make the decision on whether or not to prosecute and hold someone accountable for a crime that they are accused of committing. The police department plays a really important role because they're on the streets. They are the face of law enforcement. They're who you encounter on the streets. They're who typically originates charges. And their standard for originating those charges is probable cause. Do I have probable cause to believe that you committed an offense? Then those cases are screened by my office because when we pursue a case, we have to prove that an individual is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So the standard is much higher than what police have. And that's for a reason. We want to get folks off the streets quickly. Yes. But putting together those cases are really important. So we work very closely with the police department. We screen cases with them, which means they come in, they bring all of their evidence, any witness statements, any information that they think is important for us in order to make, to evaluate and make charging decisions. So ultimately, we make charging decisions on those cases that move forward. And so it's an important partnership. We work together every day.
Work together, great. That is outstanding. We're going to take a commercial break and we'll be back after these messages.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wild.
Welcome back to Real Talk. Our topic today is all about crime prevention. And who better than our state's attorney to sit with us and just give us a plethora of information about crime prevention. So let's move right into that. One question I do want to ask you is, see something, say something. That means many things to many of us, doesn't it?
It does. And you know, for me, working in law enforcement, what it really means is that, you know, the community is really the best police of itself, right? The folks in the community, because they know what's going on. They know where the problem corners are or houses are. They often know who's having beef with whom. And they hear word on the street, right? And it doesn't mean that people get arrested because they heard something was going to happen, but then if you know that there may be something going down, you can inform law enforcement and then they can observe to see, you know, hey, this is the area that maybe people are selling narcotics. And so if you live in that community and you see something, you can call your police department and let them know that I see folks hanging out. They look like they may be selling something illegal. And it's around, let's say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon that they typically congregate. What police will do is they'll observe, you know, because again, our partnership with the community is critical. The community solves most of our crimes. That is a fact. Most of our witnesses are civilian witnesses, people who are victims or people who have witnessed something. The police do the investigation, but a lot of what they uncover, the leads that they uncover, is due to civilian witnesses. So it's really important that people feel empowered and they understand how important of a role it is to be vigilant in their own communities. That's why I love the concept and the idea of community watch. You know, and it works because if you're guarding your community, right, you're looking out for your neighbors, then it's less likely that crime will occur because the police will be in tune to what's going on in your community. So I think, you know, we have, so that's one of the things. If you see something, say something. I was going to also mention that we need to be smarter about how we operate, right? As residents, sometimes we get comfortable. So we'll go to a store, we'll leave our bag, you know, in the front seat or somewhere where people can view the fact that you have something that may be valuable, that they may want to get themselves, right? And so they end up breaking into a car to steal your wallet, your computer, things that if you secure in the trunk, that wouldn't happen. So I'm not saying that anyone has a right to in any way commit a crime against you. But you also want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you're making smart decisions about your property in particular.
I agree. I think I've been guilty of leaving my purse and running in and running out. I think many of us have.
Yeah, people do it, and 9 times out of 10 nothing happens, but that one time when something happens, and it does happen. We know that it happens because when people don't leave things out, what we see is that auto theft and vandalism goes down. And so we've been working with our police to send a very strong message to the public. Hide your valuables, don't leave them out in the open. And many of our residents have heeded the call, and we have seen dramatic decreases in auto theft and vandalism, as well as carjackings. But in this case, you know, when we're talking about leaving things out, these aren't even, these are crimes of opportunity, what they are. When someone purposefully, let's say, carjacks you, then they are taking those steps. They have an interest, right? They have planned to do something. When it's crimes of convenience, it's like, oh, well, it's sitting right there. I guess I can do it. And so we want to not make it easy or attractive for people to commit crimes like that.
Well, thank you so kindly for clarifying what we call the S4. See something, say something. Absolutely. So at this time, we're going to take a few questions from our audience. Oh, come on up, George.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is George Onyenye Ong, a 20-year Air Force veteran, and my question is, what have you pioneered in your office and also the legislation that has helped the police department or crime in our community?
Well, thank you for those two questions. I'm going to take the second one first, if that's okay with you, in terms of legislation, because we're in the legislative session right now, and we're working on a bill right now to make the possession of machine gun conversion devices a felony offense. That'll help us be able to prosecute and hold those accountable who use those, what's maybe called switches, to turn a regular handgun into a machine gun, into an automatic weapon. That can really do a lot of destruction and damage. And so that's one of the bills that we're working on this year. But in prior years, I've worked to ban ghost guns. I've also led the effort to make strangulation a first-degree felony offense, and it is now in the state of Maryland a felony. In addition to that, I worked and led the effort to expand our hate crime statute so that it would be more applicable to what we see on the streets in terms of hate crimes. And unfortunately now, in this environment, I think it's very important that we have those tools to hold those accountable who would commit crimes against someone just because of how they look or where they're from or the language that they speak. So, you know, we've done a bunch of other pieces of legislation in Annapolis. In fact, the last one I'll just mention is that we expanded the organized crime statute to allow more underlying charges to be considered as organized crime, where we can go after not just the person who may have committed the offense, but everyone in that chain who orchestrated and planned the offense. And so that really helps us to hold people accountable who wouldn't ordinarily be prosecuted, but absolutely has a role and is playing a role in the offense. But to go back to your first question, I'm proud of many things that I pioneered, but one of the things I'm most excited about is the work we're doing around really, I think, lessening what's called recidivism, where people are committing crimes again. The reason why I honed in on that is because one of the areas that we're very concerned about is repeat offenders. How do we prevent people from repeating the crimes that they committed or similar crimes? Well, it's giving them hope and opportunity and really a structure and a foundation to be successful. And so I created the first of its kind. It's called an emerging adult program, where people who we have held accountable, they are serving their time, but they have home plans back to Prince George's County, which means at some point they're coming back to the community. They're young, so their brains are still developing, and oftentimes they haven't had the structure or the discipline that they need in order to really become productive citizens. So we do a 6-month program where we virtually provide them with life planning training, as well as we connect them with mentors and people who are in professions that they have an interest in. When they are released, they are then connected with a life coach who encourages them and also holds them accountable. I can tell you that we've had probably about 40 people go through that program now, and none of them have returned back to the system. And we have about 23 young men in the program currently, and we actually have about 20 women now, because we created a similar program for women who are going through that process right now. And so what it has taught me is that if you pour into people, if you give them real hope, if you give them the tools that they need to be successful, they will make better decisions. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. We'll take another question from the audience.
Yes.
Come up, sir.
Thank you. My name is Billy Okoye. I'm a real estate broker owner in the community. Thank you, State Attorney, for spending your time. My application is going to be in 4 ways. What are the specific ways that communities can keep the community safe? I know you talked about leaving the buses and the car and all that, but what specific ways can we help? And then second one is, how can the police, how can the community help you and the police to keep the community safe?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, Neighborhood Watch is a wonderful way to keep communities safe. Having a strong relationship with your local police division, where you have a relationship with the major, with the captains, with your community police officers, so that if something does happen, you can pick up the phone and call them. And they typically want to know what's going on, and they will respond. They're pretty good about that. So I think just having open lines of communication. I think one of the things that the police can do better is have more presence, because I think a lot of people want to just see the cruisers, even if we love them to get out from time to time, but we know that they have a pretty large area to patrol. But just having the presence sometimes serve as a deterrent. And then I think for our young people, having more activities to engage them, even at the community level, because one of the things that I have found in this role is that when kids hit about middle school, they aren't necessarily in daycare anymore, but they're not really equipped to make all good decisions for themselves. But they're given a little bit more freedom because they're coming home now. They're letting themselves in the house. They're probably supposed to be doing homework. Some of them don't do it. So they have a little bit more freedom, but they don't have the structure that they need. And so then they end up getting into trouble. So what teachers will tell you is that the hardest grades are like middle school through, let's say, the 10th grade. If we can get our kids in structured programming and focus on, whether they want to do sports or learn a trade or, just something that piques their interest and that keeps them on the straight and narrow during that time frame, that time period, they will likely not enter the justice system. But because there's dynamics out there, and we're not going to blame parents or anything like that, because parents are struggling, many, and so we know that, and some kids are being raised by grandparents, so it is really truly a tough situation. But I think that's why government can provide more services to our young people, more opportunities for them to be in structured activities after school. But we can all play a role in helping, especially our young people, make better decisions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Sure, come on up.
Hello, my name is Brady Bridget, founder of the agency. And my question is, what ideas have you developed as state's attorney for how your office, the police, and the community can strengthen ourselves against crime?
What we have done is, and I think this is just kind of similar to some of the other questions that were asked. I think it's really about communication. It's really about saying that we are in a partnership. I can tell you when we had the branch of carjackings, my office initiated a carjacking task force. Not only was that task force made up of members of my office and our various policing agencies, but we also had community members, we had business owners, nonprofits. We wanted to come together to figure out how we send a very strong message. And so the police were making arrests, we were doing the prosecution, the judges saw the work that we were putting into it, so when we asked for those tough sentences, they began to give them to us. But in the community itself, we were hosting events called Our Streets, Our Future, where we went to those areas that were hardest hit by carjackings and other crimes. And we held community events there where we brought resources directly to the community, like jobs also counseling services and any other service that we thought was important for that community. And we wanted the young people and, the parents too to come and feel like they can gain some of those services for themselves. And we now are experiencing one of the sharpest decreases in carjackings that I think any jurisdiction is experiencing throughout the state of Maryland and this region. But it's all of us working together, holding each other accountable, and then also, providing opportunities for people. Thank you.
You're welcome. Those were great questions.
It's a really great question.
Really good questions.
Yes.
But we have the right one to answer them. We do. At this time, we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back after these messages.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Welcome back to Real Talk. Today's topic is all about crime prevention, and our state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy, has given us valuable insight as it relates to crime prevention. The S4, remember, see something, say something. She's given us so much information, and I want to say thank you for joining us today.
This is wonderful. I appreciate the topic, and I appreciate you inviting me to
Oh, and I would invite you again.
Awesome.
Okay. So I have one final question, okay? And that question is, what's on the horizon for our state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy?
Yes. Well, that's a really good question. Well, I love my job as state's attorney. In fact, I have a trial coming up later this year, homicide, involving a teacher who was killed in Greenbelt. And so I'm very committed to getting justice for her family. But in addition to my role as state's attorney, as someone who is in elected life here, we're always looking for ways to serve. And there is currently a vacancy in the office of the county executive. And so I am one of the candidates vying for the votes in order to become the next elected county executive here in Prince George's County.
Awesome, awesome. So excited for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, growing up here and really even being in the justice system, I see where government has not met the needs of people. I see where our educational system, our healthcare system, especially mental health system, where social services have not served our people in a way that will help make them stronger and help make them better decision makers. Because when our children are not in school, which is an issue that I'm very concerned about, making sure that we enforce our truancy laws, then they are out and about making decisions that are oftentimes unwise and oftentimes lead them into the justice system. When I look at the number of young people who are in the justice system who have horrible attendance records, it's the majority. The majority. So I want to be in a position where I can work with our school system more effectively to keep our kids in school, provide better educational options and opportunities for them. I want to expand mental health care services, and in the future I would love to build a long-term mental health treatment facility where people who have long-term needs can go. Because I have unfortunately dealt with family tragedies where blood relatives have committed violence against one another. Some have ended in death. And it's really hard when you're trying to get justice when it involves a family. And oftentimes it's as a result of someone with untreated or with severe mental health issues. But we don't have a place here in the county to send these individuals, for them to live where they could still have relationships with their family, but they're not living in the house where it's unsafe for everyone. So that is something that I hope will be a legacy project for me. And then when it comes to social services, people have needs. You know, when we think about some of the crimes that are committed, especially in our grocery stores, and it's not all the time this way, but oftentimes it's that people are trying to survive. They're trying to eat. You know, they're trying to meet their basic needs. And we have to do a much better job of providing those basic services that people need, like housing and food. And so I just really want to be in a position where I'm able to more better impact those areas that oftentimes lead people into the criminal justice system and honestly makes our community less safe. But I also have a big vision for this county, because we have community folks like you who are dynamic and who are in business or who have something to contribute. I want to build industry here. I mean, we have such innovative residents. We have residents who are federal government contractors, people who have done well in private business, but have not really done business with the county. I want to expand those contracting opportunities so that more Prince Georgians are doing business with the county, that we are expanding our commercial tax base, and that ultimately will help us to lower our residential property taxes. I mean, everyone's talking about how high taxes are, but that's because 70% of our budget is based on residential property taxes. In order to shift that burden away from the residents to business, we have to provide a business-friendly environment where more commercial activity can happen. So building around our metro stations, looking at other opportunities, especially inside of the Beltway where we have existing infrastructure, we can do infill development. There are town center designations throughout our county, but they're not town centers. Like Westphalia is supposed to be a town center, not just residential homes. It's supposed to have commercial and business. And we have to be focused on making that happen. If that's what we promised those individuals who moved there, then we have to make sure that these projects get completed so that we're able to not just get the benefit of new homes being built, but also get the benefit of new commercial activity.
Yes.
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 So we have a lot of work to do, but,
yes.
but I'm up for the challenge.
Yes. Well, it is my prayer that you are our next county executive.
Thank you.
I think we have the right person for the job.
I appreciate it.
And the right person on Real Talk for the job. I love that as well.
Thank you.
So with that said, again, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining me on Real Talk. It's been a pleasure
Absolutely.
having this time with you, and I appreciate you, and I believe in you, and the golden nuggets you gave us today will take us a long way.
Thank you very much.
Crime prevention has been, yes, absolutely. So with that said, everyone, to my viewing audience, remember to give yourself grace. Stand in your truth and let God handle the rest. Thank you and God bless.